Okay, so our next section is the abstract reasoning section of the test. I like to call this the Marmite of the test because people either love it or hate it. If you hate it to start with, don't be intimidated. Once you get used to the things that they ask and the way that the questions are asked, you will get used to it. But it can be quite difficult to start with. So this section is based around understanding sort of non-verbal and non-numerical, non-written information. So you get given shapes and you need to find patterns within those shapes. So you may be given a set of shapes and asked if it would fit into set A or set B, or you may be given a series of shapes and asked to pick the next shape in the series. You may be given a statement involving a group of shapes and asked to work out which shape completes the statement. It may seem very strange at first, as I said, but with a bit of practice, you will be able to confidently answer the questions. A really good one to practice on the UCAT app if you get the bus to school or you sort of get in the car to school, get on the app and get used to answering these questions. 50 questions in this section and only 12 minutes. People tend to spend the most time practicing this section, I would say, because it is so different than questions that you've been asked before. Even the sort of decision making section, although you don't really get asked those at school, the way that the questions are asked are very familiar, but this is quite different. Yeah, but once you know what they're looking for and the sort of things that they ask, it becomes a lot easier. These are the instructions here. So there's 4 different types of questions that they can ask. You need to say whether shapes fit into set A or B. You'll be asked to complete the pattern for the next shape in the series. Sorry. You will be presented with a statement involving a group of shapes and asked to determine which shape completes the statement. Or type 4, you will be presented with 2 sets of shapes labelled set A and set B and asked to select which of the 4 belongs to set A or set B. So we would recommend using sort of this method, so scans, so looking out for the shapes, so what shapes are present within the question, the colour, what colours are the shapes, how many colours are there, how many of these different shapes are we seeing. When I say colours, they're either going to be sort of a block black colour or they'll be white, just outlined. Arrangement, where in the box are the shapes. Take note of colours and angles of lines and shapes, or if there's any rotation of shapes. Number, so how many of each shape is present, how many shapes are a certain colour, how many of certain angles, and sizes, what are the size of the shapes. Now, if you go on YouTube as well, there's a lot of different videos that go through different strategies for answering these, and I would definitely recommend taking a look at those. We actually recommend for the whole test to stay away for anything that you have to pay for. There's so many brilliant free resources out there, and UCAT resources are probably your number one source of practice for this test. So here's question 1. What I didn't say was that this one is time pressured, so I think there's 50 questions and 12 minutes. But I'll let you have a go of question 1 there, and I'll go through the answer. Okay, so the answer for this one, which do each of the following shapes belong to? Set A, set B, or neither? And as I said, if you do have a good feeling that it's neither, go for it. There will be some answers where C is neither is the answer. It isn't always set A or set B. What you need to do on this one is find the pattern, find what's the same in set A and find what's the same in set B, basically. Rather than looking at the differences, I would try and look at one set and find the commonality between that. So the pattern within this one is actually, we've got this set of shapes. the same for all of them. And when we see a black dot here, this shape then rotates 90 degrees clockwise. It rotates 90 degrees clockwise in set A, and that's the same for all of them, as you can see. So wherever there's a black dot, the shape rotates 90 degrees. In set B, we've got the same black dot, but the shape rotates 90 degrees anti-clockwise, and that's the same throughout. So when we're looking at the answers here, the first one, this is just the rationale there. So the first one is A, because we have this black dot, and then we've got a 90-degree rotation clockwise. Number 2 is B, because we've got an anti-clockwise rotation, and then A and A. This is question 2, so I'll let you have a go at that one. Okay, so we'll go through the answer to this one. The rule for this one is actually pretty simple. I think what makes this question more difficult is all of the irrelevant information. So when we're looking at this, we're thinking, oh, there's 2 circles, there's 1 circle, there's 3 shapes, there's 2 shapes. What the rule in this question is that set A, all of the shapes have curved sides, and set B, all of the shapes have straight sides, and that's the only rule. So part of this test is actually being able to disregard irrelevant information. So the colour, the number of shapes is completely irrelevant within this question. It's just that we've got curved on one side and straight on the other. So when we look at the answers here, we've got 2 circles. So this first one is set A, second one straight side set B, and the third and fourth are a mix of curved and straight lines, so they both belong in neither question. Now we're going to look on question 3. Now the answer for this question is C. So the rule for this one is quite difficult. I think I would do this by building it up. So we know what we'd be looking for would be this outer shape to be horizontal. Unfortunately, that doesn't really help us because all of these are horizontal. But the rule is the entire bottom pattern within the box turns 90 degrees clockwise, and each subsequent box, the colour of the circle stay the same, but the squares alternate between black and white in each subsequent box. So again, I would use my scrap bit of paper to be drawing out what I was wanting to see. This is quite a difficult one, so I'm just going to leave that sort of rationale of the correct answer on the board for you to read it for a minute. Moving on to question 4, this is another way that they can ask questions. So I'll give you a second for this one. Okay, so the answer for question 4 is shape B. And again, I would just start drawing this out if I could. So what has happened from the arrows here to the arrows here, and they've gone the other way. So we'd be expecting these arrows to be the opposite on this side here. Then what's happened is this outermost shape and innermost shape have switched positions, and the triangle is now the largest shape and the square is within inside that triangle. And then we've got a repetition of that middle shape, and that is upside down and in black. So what we would be wanting to see was a large, I guess, is this a rhombus or a trapezium? In this section here, a black one with a smaller circle within inside of it, and then a white upside down rhombus. So our correct response here is B. So that was abstract reasoning. Now we're going to move on to situational judgment.